Hi everyone, let us start our session for today. We are recording it, so anybody who's coming in, they'll just find it here. So welcome to today's session. So as you are aware, every Thursdays, we always have our 4 p.m. Knowledge Thursday sessions, where we're just ensuring that our members in the 4 p.m. community are opportunity ready. As for those of you who don't know, 4BM, the Forgotten Bottom Billions, is an organization that shares socio-economic opportunities with young people and women across Africa. So when we say opportunity, we mean job opportunities, scholarship opportunities, fellowship trainings, or any other opportunity that is beneficial to a young person or a woman across Africa. Yeah, but we not only share, but ensure that you're also opportunity ready. So every Thursdays, 8 p.m., we always organize training such as this one, just to ensure that any opportunity that we share, you are actually ready for it. Yeah, so we'll actually probably maybe do a training on career or professional development, or any other area that is beneficial to our community members as 4BM. Yeah, and we do it in conjunction with various partners. One of our partners is USUDI. And today we have Mary Wasike from USUDI. Mary Wasike is the Senior Business Development Lead at USUDI. She's going to tell us more about herself. But today she's presenting about navigating a toxic workplace. We know it is not a matter of just having a job, but working in a place where you can thrive and grow. Yeah. So I'll invite Mary, who will tell us more about herself and take it over. Welcome, Mary. Sorry, Monica, sorry, it's Monica Wasike, not Mary.
It's okay. It's fine. I was about to correct. It's okay. It's fine. Yes, thank you all for joining. I can see all of you, Vincent, Marjorie, Anthony, Christine, Stephen, Lily, Tabitha. Thank you all for joining. Those are just a few that I've mentioned. Anita, Michael, thanks for joining today. Yes, because I think we're just a bit too many. There's no point in us going through introductions because it will take us half the day. Maybe just tell us, maybe in the comment section, just let me know where you're listening in from, or rather tuning in from. Specifically where, if you're in Nairobi, if you're in Rwaka, it will be interesting to know where you're coming from. It's just like some point of familiarity instead of having to go around and introduce ourselves. So yeah, I'll start by myself. My name is Monica Wasike. I'm a senior BD executive at USUDI. So what that means is the work that I do mainly entails, I'm mostly dealing with clients, potential clients. So USUDI umbrellas a lot of, it umbrellas about 4 arms of the business, but ideally we eat, breathe, and live sales. So we support companies with sales talent. We have an academy where we train people in sales. So graduates, people who are from colleges and all that, we train them, get them into academy, and then place them in companies. We also do recruitment, and then we also do training of sales reps. So ideally, I'm the one in charge of speaking to the clients and understanding their needs. So that's mostly about my role. Yes, on the comment section, I can see Lauren, you're from Kiambu. Thank you for sharing. Imali Joel, you're from Nakuru. Lucy from Rwaka. Vincent from Thika. It's nice to have you all here. The topic for today is how to navigate toxic workplaces. I feel like this topic is a sensitive topic, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about, because this is something that happens to people in real life. This is something that is real kwa ground. These are things that happen to people at workplaces. So yes, let me just get into it. Maybe I can just start by asking you guys, do you know the definition of a toxic workplace? According to you, what do you think a toxic workplace is? What does that entail for you? Anyone? because a toxic workplace can mean different things for different people, because, you know, first things first, we have all been brought up different. And then number two, we have all been exposed to different kinds of environments. So maybe there's you who has worked for 0 years. There's this person who has worked for a whole year, who understands probably the nitty gritties of maybe the simpler tasks. There's somebody who has a bit of a hardened core. Yes, it doesn't mean that this person should be treated unfairly or anything of the sort, but it definitely is a factor to put in place when describing what a toxic workplace is. So according to me, a toxic work environment is one where there are negative behaviors. So negative behaviors such as manipulation, bullying, yelling, you know, such things. We'll get more into it as we go down. And so these characteristics, they are so intrinsic in the culture of the organization that it affects the productivity of the workers. It brings about lack of trust, high stress levels, infighting, discrimination. Such things become normal in the organization. So that's a toxic work environment, I would say. A toxic work environment is also an environment where you feel psychologically unsafe. So psychologically, you're just feeling maybe I'm not able to express myself. If I express myself this way, I feel like maybe I'll be punished, I'll be humiliated, I'll be rejected. I can't speak up my ideas or raise my concerns because I'll be objected, because I'll face a couple of objections or show up, or I'm not able to show up as myself in my work. So that is something that that's how I would define a toxic work environment. So I'm not so sure whether what demographics we have here, but I'd like to hear maybe if any of you have experienced anything toxic. It doesn't have to be intense. Well, you can storytell for us in the comment section or just raise up your hand. But I'd love to hear maybe instances of where you've seen maybe your friend here and there, or have had. I'd like to hear what instances you've seen that. So in the comment section, I see Michael saying where the employees can take advantage of you in order to go up the ladder. Yes, yes. And that also, I feel like that is directly related to, you get to these work environments where you find people who are caged. So they don't even tell you, they're not willing to help you understand maybe how this is done, They're caging information so that they're the ones who keep going up. The kind of environment is definitely very toxic. Yes, people taking credit for your work. Yes, it means then there's no, your immediate boss, or actually even the entire organization, doesn't have structures for this. Yes, male bosses making sexist jokes to female juniors. Yes, that's very, very toxic. Very toxic. Especially, they like prying on junior talent, because one of them, first thing they're thinking, you're green, you've just walked in, of course you don't know what you're doing, of course you don't know what A to Z, of course you need to ask for help here and there, of course you're a bit vulnerable, especially when you're going to a new workplace. You need a lot of support as an entry-level person, even as a mid to senior level, you need a bit of support. So for them to take advantage of it, like that's very toxic. Thanks, Anita. Where the employer does not hear and understand the plight of his or her employees. Yes, that is very true. You raise your concerns and you don't get a listening ear, or you get very vague answers or things like that. That's very toxic. Rosemary, I can see your hand is up.
Where you get a CEO who just gets in and shouts and screams at everything, does not know how to communicate with the employers, with the employees, just shouting, always shouting, and then they say it's their nature. You see, that is very toxic, because people fear working in such an environment, because you don't know how the mood is, you don't know when to talk to him. and you know it's stressful, so you find yourself not surviving by God's grace.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. And for your first job, or rather in your entry-level position, it's very important for you to get somewhere where you can easily grow. Somewhere where they allow you to ask questions, they allow you to make mistakes, they allow you to express your ideas, because you've come straight from university, you've come straight from college, you have fresh ideas, you've learned a couple of things. It's good when people are able to listen to you. Sometimes, okay, there are some organizations that you might get into that are obviously maybe well established and might not take into action some of your ideas, but it's very good. People who are listening to ideas. Let me just give you one or two more, and then I can go on with what I feel are triggers to see whether this is a toxic work environment. So Lou says, where your career progression is sabotaged by not getting new projects. Yes. Yes, sometimes you get bosses who are not pro your growth. So they know their internal positions that you would do well in, but they don't want to see you progress in those. That can be toxic. What about an environment where you're not given off days? Like, even if you are given, there's a lot of pressure. Yes, actually, this is personal to me. I don't appreciate where an organization where it's like I'm begging you to go on leave. I'm entitled to however many days you gave me. So when I want to go on leave, I should the correct process. Okay, each organization has different procedures on how to take leave, but ideally it should not be something that you're begging for. It should be you're letting your boss know, or whoever the channels are to let that person know that you'll be going for leave in advance, or even if maybe it's an emergency, you let them know in however the format is for them. Delegate your activities for that day if at all they were hot. Let me use hot deals. If at all they were hot deals, delegate them to maybe somebody else, so that even as you're taking your leave, you're not just going and you had hot, let me say hot deals. I'm going to use a lot of sales terminologies because I'm in sales. So say you have hot deals, maybe you had a client who you had a meeting today. So you make sure you cancel your meeting, communicate to the client that you're not going to be there, or just delegate the meeting to somebody else who is probably your colleague. Those are the right things to do, because sometimes, even in as much as we're saying there's the toxic work environment, sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot. These are the right procedures, this is what should be done, but you decide to take the shortcut. Of course, that won't end well. And it's not fair for us to say that that's a toxic work environment, yet the rules and procedures that are to go on. Yes. So let me just go through the points that I had, which more or less are exactly what you guys are saying. There are no boundaries around work. So this is in terms of time. I tackled this in terms of time. You find an organization where the managers are overworking themselves, overstimulating themselves, pushing themselves to burnout and exhaustion, and expect their teams to do the same. So this, I feel, is toxic, because it's very important to have work-life balance. You know what you're doing at work. When it's work time, you're supposed to report to work at 8, you leave work at 4. When work is done, you go home and do your life activities. And also, when it's your life issues at home, weekend, Saturday, please don't bring them to work. Those are the boundaries, work-life balance. There's no mixing of the two. Otherwise, the boundaries are now become gray, and then now there's issues, there's HR, there's you being demoted, not demoted, but let go because probably you went drinking over the weekend, and then those things escalated to work. Those are not things that should happen. A trick that I can give for this is you can tell some of these things when the recruiter is speaking to you. Say you've applied for a job and the recruiter calls you, and the recruiter is giving you a task on a Friday afternoon, and then the recruiter tells you, I'd like this done by Monday morning. That's already something you should be worried about. It's How are you giving me a task on Friday afternoon and expect me to do it by Monday morning? This is something that you're expecting me to do over the weekend. Clearly, you're crossing a boundary here. Not unless now, of course, there are jobs that people work on Saturday, people work on Sunday. That makes sense then. But if it's just the usual 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, then this is a sign that you should be like, wow. Ama they send you your offer letter at 10 in the night, at 12 in the midnight. You should ask yourself some questions. Do a bit of research. Check on LinkedIn, ask people who have worked there, ask your friends. Another thing I'd like to talk about is your network. Your network is people you go to church with, people, your friends from high school, your friends from primary. Those are people, those are your networks as an entry-level person. That is where you begin. You ask your friend, maybe your friend's mother who they go to church with knows this other person, they worked here. Do some research, understand, okay, is this, what kind of an organization is this? So yeah, this is something that you can look out for you to be able to know like how these people operate. Sometimes, yes, I agree, maybe deadlines cut really close, maybe he got caught up or something happened. And if that is the case, this person should apologize in the email. You know, it should be like, hi, Rosemary, I know I'm sending this late. You know, somebody who is acknowledging that this is not normal. But if someone is just acting like, okay, this is norm, do this by Monday morning, get this done, that should be cause for worry. Number 2, there's no room to make mistakes. I think I've talked about this. In an environment like this, people start, you know, people are trying to avoid the blame game. You're trying to avoid, okay, I don't want to be blamed because this and this happened. Even the smallest mistake, you don't want to be blamed. So now people are not sharing how they are working. You just work with you. If you've been there 5 years and there's this new person who's been there 1 year or literally 1 week, you don't want to tell them what to do. You want them to blunder the way you blundered, and they almost had your neck and they almost fired you. So that's how the work situation is operating. So that kind of situation limits growth. It limits growth, and you're at an entry-level position to learn. You're not there. You don't know much. Trying to learn, you're trying to get all the steps, you're trying to understand, okay, how will I move from here? So it becomes a very toxic workplace, especially for an entry-level person. And then there's no structure of reporting HR related issues. So it's very important to, in case of anything, who are you reporting to? And these are things that I think can be tackled in your onboarding. So good companies onboard their entry-level people well, but you find some that have not taken the time to onboard their people. But this is also a place where you also play a part. So you need to be very inquisitive. As somebody who has just started a job, you need to be very inquisitive. Ask questions. Never feel ashamed of asking questions, because sometimes, like for me, okay, I'll just use an example of myself. When I began in sales, I had never done sales before. So it was my first time. I didn't know much. So I had a lot of questions to ask. And I didn't feel ever that I'm asking too many questions, because one, I didn't know. I accepted that I'm coming from a place that I don't know. And even if you know, sometimes you get to a company where things are done different. It's okay not to know. Even if you've worked in sales for 2 years and you go into a company and things are different from how you've been handling it, just accept that you have no idea, accept that you have maybe 10% of an idea, ask questions, understand who am I. When you're onboarding, you'll be told, okay, this is for you. You'll be working closely with finance or operations or HR or whatever department that is. You'll be told this is who you'll be working close with. Understand who will I be asking for what. And this is not something maybe all companies will take you through. You have to, it's up to you to take your own initiative. It's for your own safety in the end, in the long run. Who am I asking for what? But you find companies that don't have structures for HR related issues. That becomes a bit tricky, because it's very easy at a workplace for things to go south. Let me use those words, for things to go south. So it's very important for a company to have HR structures. Someone mentioned this, valid complaints are not taken into consideration. Your concern, your ideas, issues that affect you. You also notice maybe there are some issues that are affecting your colleagues. and your manager just gives a vague answer like, but I didn't know that was what was happening. And this is something that has been mentioned a couple of times, but I need, such situations called those that can be a telltale sign to a really big toxic situation. Be somewhere where you have a concern, you're being finyiliwad, maybe you're being pushed for work, by your seniors, things are being over delegated, and you cannot express yourself. So, and when you express yourself, you're not heard, nothing is implemented. So that can be toxic. Another way you can tell a place is toxic is how senior management treats their staff. So this is through emailing. You can see how the emails are being written. You can see how phone calls are going. What kind of communication are they doing on phone? That can be that can tell you what kind of work environment that is. Another thing I'd like to say is contract. So this is not toxic, but I think this is a red flag. So something I feel and something I know about starting out, especially entry level, you're not sure how to navigate in the beginning. You've been called for the interview, they've told you, okay, you can come, here's the offer letter, you're excited. I think you should take your time, understand what are my roles. One thing I want to talk about is contracts. It's very important for a company who is hiring you to give you a contract to sign. The contract will stipulate a couple of things: your remuneration, how much they are paying you, what are the termination. There's usually a termination clause on the contract. It outlines how you leave, or how you leave an organization, what occurrences can cause them to fire you or to let you go. So the contract kind of covers you. So when you get a job, maybe sometimes, like, okay, it's not, in some companies, it's not an initial thing that you're given on day one. It can be in the first week, it can be in the second week, but it needs to be in the beginning. You sign a contract. Signing a contract is now we're getting into now kind of tips and tricks on how to navigate toxic work environments. Is a boundary that you place that helps you in the long run. Because if you didn't sign a contract, there are so many ways you can be manipulated in the workplace. You can be given you can be let go because of maybe small issues. They can decide, maybe if you're a salesperson, they're not paying you commission, yet in the offer letter they had told you they will pay you commission. So these are things that are supposed to be covered in the contract. So tips and tricks. I believe setting boundaries from the beginning is the best way to go, because you can imagine, it's like having a boyfriend. You guys have been dating for like 6 months, and then now in the 7th month, now you want to introduce some boundaries. It becomes a bit hard. It becomes, now you have to stand really strong. You have to come with the facts. You have to, it becomes, there's emotions involved. It becomes just a little bit hard. Yes, it happens. Yes, it can happen, but it becomes a little bit hard. So it's better done in the beginning. And the first thing you do is protect yourself with the contract. Understand, what is my role? What is this? What is happening here? Don't be too excited to start a role and you're not sure of some nitty-gritties. You don't feel, and also sometimes you can feel it in, should I say, the body language. You can just feel the communication is not as clear. When you ask questions, they don't want to answer you directly. You can just start telling when it gets to that point, because there's some companies who will tell you, yes, we have a contract, this and this is what you have. You can tell that the communication is clear. You can tell that it's structured. Even when they tell you they'll give you the contract in the 2nd week or in the 1st week, or maybe they have some delays, you see how it is possible. But there are some companies you can already tell in the body language that this might not go well. I suggest you take your time, get yourself, put that as a boundary to save you from turmoil in the coming, like, as you progress. There are companies that also offer, I think it's called a company handbook, or is it a HR handbook? So it has like a set of rules and regulations, things like that. It's good to go through them so that you're aware of what what rights you have in your workplace and what you should not do. I also mentioned asking questions during onboarding, understanding who am I reporting to, what are the clear channels here, who do I speak to for this? Ask all the questions you can. Another way, this is a tip that I've used before. During interviews, at the end of the interview, the interviewer usually asks you, do you have any questions for us? So this is an opportunity for you to understand the type of work environment that they have. So you can ask a question, for example, how long has this position been vacant and why? The answer they'll give you, you will be able to know, okay, the previous person. They might not give you in detail, but you're smart. You'll be able to know, okay, you'll fill the gaps for yourself. So at this point, you can find out maybe the position, maybe they tell you the position has been vacant maybe 3 times this year or 2 times this year, or it's been vacant 1 month, you know. So how you discern this? First things first, it's a bit of a, not even a bit, let me just say a red flag, because even in my work, it's a red flag when a company has a high turnover. Salespeople actually have the highest turnover. I think I would say salespeople have the highest turnover across all industries. By turnover, I mean they're always leaving their jobs. And I get clients who are constantly complaining, oh, I'm always hiring for sales reps, they're always leaving, they're always leaving. Well, I'm sorry, sir, the issue is with you. It's always the client who's the issue. It's not the candidate who left. The reason why they're leaving is, one, you did not onboard them well. You know what onboarding means is you've been given a job and then you're seated there. They tell you come on Monday, and then you come on Monday and then you're seated there, and they don't have a structure for you. They don't have a process for you. Like today we are doing this. Today we are meeting this. Today you're meeting this and this person. Tomorrow we are walking you through maybe the field. These are the areas. Like they don't have clear cut. So day one you're seated there. The whole week you just come to work. You're seated. They give you some paperwork to do or something. Like there's no, even if they're gonna give you paperwork, they need to tell you, okay, so this week is paperwork. This is what you're doing this week, or this is what you're doing for 1 month. That's what that's what onboarding is. So yes, so this is directly related to how, and also high turnover can be maybe because of their salaries. It can also be a toxic work environment. People are constantly leaving, and these are things you can, you know, when you're going for an interview. Of course, you've done your research, so these are things you can find out on LinkedIn. You can find out on LinkedIn, this job ad has been posted for a whole 2 years. Every time they're posting it, they remove it after 3 months, they found someone. After another 4 months, they've put the job post. That means they're constantly for the same post. It can be a red flag, not unless maybe the company is really growing and they need a couple of people in the same role, but it can be a red flag when they're constantly hiring. So those are things that you can look for. Asking that question in the interview can be, it doesn't, I don't expect you to push why did that person, why has the role not been filled for 8 months? I don't think that will sit well with the interviewer. Just ask, how long has the position been vacant and why? And then be clever about the follow-up question. So yes, that's also another trick. Another one is official communication. So sometimes you find that they're not clear. You find maybe your superior has called you over phone and told you do this, or yes, let's tackle that one. Someone has called you and told you do this. That has already happened over phone. So what you do to just put yourself in the safe zone. After that phone call, you just write an email. Hi, so and so, we have just spoken. This is what we have agreed. This is what we've agreed. I hope this is in order. And you send the email. So the communication is on official channels. Because I know sometimes you're thinking, oh, this person already called me and already told me to do this. How do I write this on email? Just the way I've said, hi, we spoke, and this is what we have agreed. Then that's on email. That saves you, especially when there's a lot of back and forth. When issues get to HR and there's a lot of back and forth, you have your email. Obviously, even before that, sometimes you can already tell this might not end well. Have everything on email. Just even when you can, you'll be speaking with someone on the phone and you can tell they're going to put you in a corner, just start your conversation on email. Stop picking phone calls, or just tell that person, and prefer if you communicate on email. Actually, that's the grown-up thing to do. I would prefer if we spoke on email. Let me just write you an email over what we have discussed, and then we can continue from there. That saves you a lot of drama. Now, you're in a place where now it's been toxic. They're overworking you. They're giving you so much work. The deadlines, I mean, the work, the amount of work that they're giving you is not equating to the time that you have, which can be a real case. This shouldn't be a case of you haven't done your work and then now you're looking for a scapegoat here and there. No, they've piled on you a lot of work and you don't, and the time that they've given it to you, it means you work overtime every single day, things like that. That's unacceptable. So what you do is you sit down with your manager. But when you're sitting down with your manager, you need to sit down with your manager with facts. You cannot sit with your manager with feelings, emotions. You have been overworked. You're there crying, my child at home. No, you sit down with your manager with facts. So these are the tasks that you have given me. This task 1, I have done it. This has taken me this and this hours, or maybe I've done it for a whole week. This has taken me this hours. This task I've done it. This is the other task that you gave me. I've taken this time, and all this equates to this and this amount of time. And the deadline that you're giving me is not something that I may be able to meet. I was suggesting, so you come up with your suggestion. I was suggesting that if you could reduce the workload, or you can add for me a bit more time so that I'm able to meet my deadlines. If you're smart and if you're able to speak yourself well, this should also equate to the amount of money that they're paying you. It can equate to the amount of money that you're paying you, because maybe they're also underpaying you for the lump sum of work that you're doing. So yes, you can negotiate your salary based on the work that you do, but always go with the facts. Always go with the facts. There are tools online that you can use to time yourself. There's an app called Togo. I think it's called Togo. Yeah, and it's free. You can use it to time yourself. So just go to YouTube, get a tutorial. They show you how to use it, how to time. You time yourself, and you go to your manager and say, so this is what I did, this is what I did, this is the amount of time it has taken me. And I've done this for a week now, or for 2 weeks now, and it's clear that the timings are constant with each other. So it's either maybe you reduce my workload, or you add for me some time, or increase my salary. So yes, I think let me just stop there. I'd like to hear from you guys. Anyone who has been in a toxic work environment, experienced anything that I've mentioned, or any of your friends have experienced any of this. I can also pick randomly, because I'd like to hear your voices. Let's see. Melda, that's a nice name. Melda, are you with us? Hi. I think we can barely hear you. Maybe just type in the comments, because we can't hear you. I don't know why you're breaking. It's probably network. Yeah, just type in the comments. That would be great. Let's see. Michael, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, so from my experience, this is a previous workplace where our bosses did not allow any mistakes. So there was a lot of insults and shouting and threats to be fired. So I remember at one point, the accountant, there was a high turnover first, and the accountant made a mistake. Not really a mistake, she found a mistake that was already there. So when trying to convey this, I think the boss got really mad and threw the file at her. So that was an example of a toxic workplace experience. And most of the people who came in were just saying they were just passing by. because of that. And we didn't have a proper HR system where you could go and communicate that. Yeah, so it was really hard to say you're having these issues.
Wow, those are actually two red flags. No structures in HR, and then an angry boss who is violent.
Yeah.
No way. You know, some of these things even go to court because it's like for a boss who is violent. I don't know. Do people go to labor? It's called labor. Well, I think it's a labor court or something. There's a place where you can go and report some of these things, and you're actually heard. Any advice on workplace friendships? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think I'd say tread carefully. Tread carefully. Exactly. You do not need to be friends. If you're friends, it just happens organically, you know. You shouldn't go trying to make friends at work. It should just happen organically. Maybe you work really well together, or maybe you just gel, you know. It just happens automatically. But I don't think this is something you should go looking for, because there's a very thin line. There's a very, very thin line, and things can get really messy. And you know, you don't want to be taking each other to HR, because at that point you're wasting your time. You're wasting each other's time. It's not value for money. If you're wasting your time, it's not value for money. But you're right, Anita. Do your work, get paid, go home. Finished. You're not there to be friends with each other. Actually, you know, at workplaces, you find people who, you find very ambitious people. So even if they're trying to be friends with you, it's maybe for their own personal gain. I think you should definitely tread carefully. Any other questions? Vincent, yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I have listened to you people keenly, and I have actually learned a lot. But do you mean that as employees, we always experience toxic work environment only from the employers or only from our bosses? Don't you think that some of the employees also make their working environment to be toxic? I think we should be discussing this thing in a two-way thing so that we can see both sides. Like, how do we deal with employees who are toxic, who are making working environment unbearable for others, rather than just maybe communicating on the side of the employers? Yes, we know that some of them make our working environment not bearable. But again, we have some employees who also contribute to that, making our work environment not to be a place where someone can grow and even thrive, you see? So kindly, someone to explain to me, like, now, this is an employee who is making the environment toxic to his or her other colleagues in the same working environment. How do we deal with such scenarios? How do you deal with such your colleagues? There is another one of us here raised an issue on the relationship in the working place. What I understand about different working places, the employer, whoever has employed you in that company, is more interested with his or her money. And then the employees are also more interested with the salary they are getting at the end of the month. Now, why would you concentrate in the relationship aspect of you in a working environment rather than being professional? So I think what I can say in regards to that is, as an employee, just be professional, knowing at the back of your mind that your colleagues are more interested with the salary they are getting at the end of the month, and your employer is more interested with whatever he is getting from you, the services you are offering. Because actually when you mess around, and then definitely you'll be fired and you'll be replaced immediately. So that is my point. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on the last one. So yes, I do agree. Having relationships at work is important. Having a work relationship at work is important, but friendship, I don't think it's necessary. In terms of colleagues who are making the work environment toxic, I think my points apply to both. One, so for example, let's say you have a toxic colleague making work unbearable for you. So we have two kinds of people. There's a person who is able to stand up for themselves, and there's a person who is not able to stand up for themselves. So the one who is able to stand up for themselves, this is something you can address in a professional manner. Sit this person down and tell them, you did this and this and this, or you do this and this and this, and I don't appreciate it. It affects my work. It affects how I work. I would appreciate it if we were able to respect each other's boundaries. That's number one, for someone who can express themselves. Number two, somebody who can't express themselves, it's good for you to be able to sit down with your manager and express this. This doesn't mean you're a snitch or anything like that. One, you're uncomfortable. One, it's affecting your work. You're not able to do this. So yes, sit down with your manager, tell them this and this is what is happening. I would prefer if we were able to do this and this and this, and this is how I'm feeling. Is this something that you're able to address on my behalf? That's number two. Number three is the clear structures that I have said that are a good indicator of a good workplace. You should be able to go to HR in case maybe your manager didn't address the issue. You should be able to go to HR and explain that this and this is, going to HR doesn't have to be like a police case. You're just going to say, this is how I feel. I would appreciate it if this and this and this was done. Another tip I'd like to tell you is don't just go with problems. Don't just always have problems. Have a suggestion. I'm feeling this way. This is how I'm being treated. Is it possible for this and this and this to be done? That is how you get help. It's someone is easily inclined to help you when you're not always on the complaining side. And even if you're on the complaining side, you need to have a mindset that allows you that has both. I'm complaining, yes, but this and this can be done. There's a brighter side to this. I hope that helps you, Vincent. Let's see. What happens when the HR department is also compromised? Now, I didn't tackle the aspect where now you just leave, because there are some toxic environments that now at this point, you're thinking about your mental health, you're thinking about your time, you're thinking about your money. Time is money. Let me tell you something. Time is money. I remember we used to be told these things in high school, but let me tell you, time is money. You would rather start afresh. Look for a job that is paying you half of what it was paying you, but you're at peace and you can grow. So sometimes when the HR department is compromised and the issue that you have is big and is not being addressed properly, then I feel like your hands are tied at that point. Let me tell you something also. It's not a must. Like, you have not been brought here to suffer. You have been brought here to learn. You're on earth to learn. You're on earth to grow. You're on earth to make mistakes and learn each and every day. If you're feeling like you're not being your true self, you cannot. And even if you're being, okay, the organizations where you can be yourself, okay, even at work, even me, I'm not at 100% myself, just like the way I am maybe with my brother and my sister, but I'm at a good percentage of myself. So if you get to a workplace where most of it is you're just struggling, you're wearing a mask, you're trying to be brave, it's too much for you. At the end of the day, you're thinking about your growth. As a person who is starting out at work, you need to look at a place where you can grow, where you can learn. And I'm not talking growth in terms of changing positions. Mentally, what am I learning? When I go to my next job, I have this skill, I have this skill, I have this skill. This is the department I am in. I was given some work from this other department. That's a skill. Sometimes don't take everything very negative. Just, it's a skill that you can learn. It's a skill that you can get here, and you would not have gotten that if you were at home. So yes, the labor courts really help, especially if you are dealing with the companies that get whatever they want through corruption. Okay, I'm not well versed with this, so maybe let me not go into it, but it kind of sounds true. How do you collect evidence from court? Lou, you're asking. Ama has replied. I think that's right. Michael. Oh yeah, right. How should you handle personal questions, small talk in the workplace? Like, what did you do and how was your weekend? Do you have a spouse, kids? Okay. Well, this is different for everyone. So like for me, my workplace, we usually asked, how was your weekend? What did you do? I actually love this question from my workplace because then it brings some personal touch to my Monday meeting. But for you who is not, this one for the kids, that one, that's a boundary somebody is crossing. Do you have spouse? Do you have a spouse or kid? So I read somewhere that when you're in an interview and they ask you, do you have a spouse? How many kids do you have? You are allowed to say you're not comfortable to answer that question. That is something that you can say, because that is not a question they should be asking you. So you can just say, I would prefer, I'm not comfortable answering that question. Is it okay if we move to the next one? You can just say that. Small talk in the workplace. If you don't want small talk, there are ways you can say it. But actually, you know, saying no is a full sentence. Just saying no. No, you don't want to be involved in like a lot of that personal whatever, because that's definitely crossing a line. But for example, let's tackle it in two ways: your manager and your colleagues. So your manager is asking you, is asking you personal questions, small talk, and you're not comfortable with it. It's okay to say you're not comfortable answering those questions. So, hi Brian, hey, how was your weekend? Hey, what did you do? Did you go to the club? Hey, you look like you went out. Hey, you look like, hey, you were hard at work. Hey, ulienda ushago ukalima shamba or something of the sort. You can just say, I don't think I'm comfortable answering it. I don't think I'm comfortable answering those questions. It's okay to say that. It's very good that's why I was saying it's good to set your boundaries mapema, like early on. When your manager is already starting that way and you know it's something that is crossing a boundary, please just find out. You don't have to be hostile about it. Just say, I'm not comfortable answering those questions. That person will go home and think about themselves and why they ask people such questions. Yes, so okay, I'll take Vincent's last question. I can see time has really gone. I'll take your last question. How do you deal with a manager who is biased and is always looking for faults? How do you deal with a manager who is biased and is always looking for faults? I think now this becomes, for me, I think because this is your manager, so if you're not able to address this situation, because you can address it, let's say he's told you to do work ABC. Yes, do the work ABC, give him the work that is ABC, and then he says, okay, this is not correct, this is not well done. Ask him, okay, what would you like me to do better? What would you like me to do better? Tells you, okay, I'd like you to do this. Next time you do it exactly as he's asked you. If at all that becomes an issue, then maybe you can escalate it to HR, and if it doesn't improve, then I think your hands are tied there. I think.
Monica, maybe what you can do is if you allow, they can ask, because I see there are quite a number of questions still coming. If they can ask you directly on your socials, if possible.
Right, no problem.
Yeah. So guys, just follow Monica Wasike on all social media pages, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and ask further questions concerning this. Yeah. So
Yes, let me just finish. So I've just put my LinkedIn on the chat.
Yeah. She's posted it on the chat. Kindly follow her, and you can engage further. Be as professional as possible. Just introduce yourself, where you met, and ask the question. Then she's going to help you in the interest of time, that is. Yeah. So let me just give a minute to Michael. Michael?
Yeah, sorry. I see that Monica, you posted it directly to my DM. You can just post it and share it with everyone so they can be able to see. Yeah. I was trying to copy and paste it to the group. So because of time, I think we'll have to end. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we are in partnership with the Forgotten Bottom Millions. So for those who don't know about USODI, we are a sales enablement community. And what we're trying to do is change the narrative of sales as a career and how sales teams are managed. So you see, Monica was talking a lot about sales here and there. It's in our blood, and we do this by providing a platform connecting the youth looking to find and explore and build their careers in sales with businesses are committed to building and developing their sales teams. So both sides, we do recruitment for organizations. On the other side, we have an academy called the USODI Sales Academy, where we train you, and we also link you to jobs afterwards. So if you want.
You're muted. Michael, you're muted. Yeah.
So where where did I stop? So
the last one we had was if you want.
If you want to learn more about the program, I just shared a link there. You can just click on it. I will be sharing materials about the program, how you can be able to reach out to Monica or any other colleague of ours, and they can advise you on this. Our program also coaches you on things like this. So we provide coaches who are going to take you through, once you're placed in organizations, they'll be there with you to hold your hand throughout your career, build you. We also have a community of professionals who understand all these issues that you face. So click on that link. We'll be able to share more information with you about our community, about our program. We have scholarships for our partners. I don't know whether Eric had told you about this. So if you're willing to join our program, we have scholarships for you. Usually we pay 39,500, but we have scholarships for some of our partners. So if you're interested, click on that link and we'll share more information about this. Thank you, Eric, for that. Back to you.
Thank you. And guys, just go to all social media pages and follow USODI, and also follow Forgotten Bottom Millions 4BM, so that you are aware of any other opportunities such as this one that might arise. Yeah. And on behalf of 4BM, we want to thank you, Monica Wasike. We are looking forward to hosting you again so that you continue with this. I know there's still more questions, but our community is going to engage you directly. And thank you very much for coming. This was actually very insightful, and toxicity at workplace is something that everybody is battling, either knowingly or unknowingly. Yeah. So I think some of the insights that you shared with us on how to navigate and thrive in such spaces is very, very important. Yeah. And thank you, Michael, for always just bringing through USODI, and we're looking forward to more of these. Yeah. For everyone who joined, thank you very much. Next week, same time, same place, we're going to have a similar session. We'll be talking about how do you apply for scholarships. Yeah, some of the things that we share scholarship, and some of us have problems applying for those scholarships. So tune in next week so that you know how do you successfully apply for a scholarship. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So guys, let me end this. Have a good night. Let's meet next week. Bye.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.